to another episode of Humble to Bold, Season 2, Episode 1. This episode is going to be called Capping. This episode is Capping. Season 2, Episode 1, Humble to Bold. I wanted to talk to you guys today about how people will come to you and tell you something, and most people are like, oh, you capping. And it's kind of like sometimes that saying or sometimes what they're telling you is not what they're telling you. And that's why it comes off as if they're capping. But I want to tell you today that sometimes God is like positioning you in a place and other people can't think on the thought that you're thinking or as far as you're thinking. So the only thing they can think to say in their head is you're capping. And I came to this story with Joseph and his brothers because he's telling them his dream. And they're like, you capping, because they got upset because they're already jealous of him. He already has this coat of many colors. Israel already loves him more than them. So the positioning has already been positioned. And sometimes it looks like you're capping because you're just my brother. You're just out in the field with me. You're the same. We're on the same level, you know? So when you tell me something like that, that is out of this world and mind boggling, you capping. But, you know, when he went to Israel, Israel kept the same in his mind. He kept what was going to happen and occur in his mind. He kept it in the back of his mind. But sometimes jealousy gets in the way of us telling people or foretelling people our future or letting people know our positioning and where we plan to go or what God is doing in that season, in that time. And sometimes it looks like a cap. And sometimes you can get capped because you're capping. You know, you tell somebody your positioning and what you want to do, and you see that Joseph's brothers begin to cap him. They throw him in this hole, so they push him further than he already was, so that he cannot get in the position that he is in. And you know, when I thought of this, I went to look up the sheaves in the field because the dream that Joseph is telling his brothers. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers said to him, are you indeed to reign over us, or are you indeed to rule over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. You know what happens when you're doing sheaves and you're bundling, when you're reaping and you're a harvester, you know, they bundle them together and they stack them in this pile so that they can dry. And what happens with the sheaves, it's in this pyramid. So there's a bundle underneath the rest of the sheaves. And what Joseph was telling them, you know, as they cover his bundle of sheaves, you know, he will be able to come out in a position to serve their sheaves. He was pretty much foretelling what occurred. You know, as they covered and dried out and did what they did with their bundles, his bundle would stand upright. His bundle would suffice in the end for their bundles as they bow down to his. And you know, sometimes, you know, we're not able to see it for what it is. Like Joseph was just telling a dream. And he probably asked God, like, what does this mean? God asked for understanding at some point. But when you are looking into someone else's future, you can't see it the way they see it. But if you have the right spirit and the right heart, you can receive it the way you should receive it. And that's something someone has to work on their own. Because even Israel in his time, and when Joseph came to him about his dream and taking over, he kept the saying in mind. You know, he didn't go and put him in a dark hole, imprisonment, and things like that. Those things didn't occur when he told him because he loved him. And when love is in a situation, you can accept someone's dream, you can accept someone's future, you can accept what someone's doing in their plan. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the saying in mind. You know, sometimes you tell your parents or you'll tell someone very close to you, and they're like, yeah, what can I do to make sure this dream occurs? You know, how can I help you, you know, get there? And, you know, even Jonathan in the book with King David and Saul, Jonathan was there to help. You know, he was there to push it into fruition of the kingdom. So it's more so How can I help versus capping someone or telling them that they're capping? And you hear it so often and we do it so much, but we don't know what we're saying. When you say you're capping someone. And sometimes you're just capping someone in the positioning that you're in. And these were his brothers. Who knows what that coat of many colors did for him in life? Was that coat of many colors supposed to position him and pivot him to the next level? We'll never know. But he got to where he was supposed to go in the end, and what he dreamed and what he had dreamed occurred in the end. So you never know whose dream is positioning your future. And that's why I'm giving you this message today, because someone else's dream might be your future. And that's what happened in this book with Joseph and his family. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in jealousy, we get so caught up in ourselves that you know, we don't position ourselves and others in a place that we should be so that we could succeed or become great. And that's what Humble to Bold is all about, lowering yourself so that you can be bold at some point, or you can go and walk into that greatness. And that's ultimately what Joseph was telling his brothers: as my sheaves stand upright and yours bow down to me, in the end we should be blessed. In the end, because that's your brother, why would he not bless you? So that's all I wanted to speak about you guys today. Until another episode of Humble to Bold, much love, be blessed, God's love.